All right, and we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to the HVAC 2.0 show. Just got me and Ted tonight. Maybe we'll see if a few more people start to kind of roll in. But but as of now, I guess we can go from here. Uh, well, what you got
It's
going
my
on?
first time on mobile.
Is it?
Yeah,
I guess it's a good
ask
thing
me.
you have a car that drives itself.
I know. Uh, Probably nag at me a bunch of times here.
Oh yeah.
He said
Oh,
it was going to go away. It seems to have gotten worse.
I'm.
Eventually, we're going to be in a world where everything we own nags at us. Or maybe that's where we already are.
Yeah. Pretty much, in some form or another.
Lizzie's got a movie she's working background in tomorrow in Rhode Island. So we're on a
Okay.
little road trip.
Well, that should be fun.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, she gets very excited about these things. It's fun for me too. It's fun for me to see her excitement, and it's we go exploring
Yeah.
around the northeast coast. Most of these gigs are east of us.
Gives you a reason
So,
to go on a road trip.
yeah, it's a road trip. So
Well,
sun's just going down. I
yeah,
don't have much to update. I was sort of hoping we would get some quarterly numbers from folks. Seems like everybody's, their numbers are pretty good. Um, because
yeah,
of Reedy having such a high closing rate, Ronnie's been leaning in because he doesn't like being so far away from the top uh, of any, of any column, and so he's been leaning into getting his revenue per lead up with higher closing rate and higher job size. Um, and this month or last month, I think he what was he telling me? I think it was close to 8,000 revenue per lead. So that was pretty exciting for him. I guess
wow,
everybody's revenue per lead should go up, even if their closing rate doesn't change because of the changeover in refrigerant. All the equipment has gotten more expensive.
oh yeah, yeah,
So this 2025 numbers are going to be a little bit wonky because of the transition.
yeah, yeah. It's this whole refrigerant thing's been a strange one. Uh, you know, forcing over a change. The manufacturers have switched over to this new refrigerant, and the majorities. I mean, the more readily available one, very few people are, or very few companies are switching to, being R32. Everyone else is switching to the 454, and there is a shortage. But also something funny is I've seen a lot of people, because it's happening everywhere. I've just been seeing a lot of people talking about it on Facebook. But like, if you install any of these equipment, when you start looking, a lot of the components that are in these systems are 410A components.
Oh,
And I don't know what the I mean, I know normally if you use the wrong refrigerant for the system of what's on the data plate, you're voiding a warranty. So now it's kind of posing this strange thing of what happens if you don't have the refrigerant, but you have 410A because that's still readily available, and you're installing equipment in which all the components are rated for 410A,
410
and you use 410,
compatible.
like, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Uh, Ty, Ty had did a video comparing. He was doing some tests to see the difference in 410A to 454 to R32, seeing what kind of performance differences you get by using, what refrigerant with what on some of these systems. And from his testing, there was just a small amount of capacity loss of using 410A in a 454 system. There was a big loss if you used R32, but a just little loss with 410A. And
Oh, that's interesting. So people are going to start charging the equipment with 410A, and
probably so.
how will the manufacturer know that they can't warranty it?
I guess you just can't tell them. And I mean, like, when you open up, like, there's been a bunch of people showing pictures. Actually, Chris Fobb, he took a picture of one where it was the top of the TXV, and on the power head of the TXV, uh, those are typically what will be rated for the different refrigerants. And on the top of it, it was showing 410A slash R32. Like, that's what it was for. And this is a 454 system. So
So
it's
people
like,
need to make sure that they label what they put in this stuff if it can work on both.
yeah. Well, it seems like that the pressures are very similar, and there's not much difference between 410A and the new refrigerant, which is why they're probably just which that's what's
Okay.
also what's strange is they're carrying over 410A parts, but we're still getting this big price hike. So it's like, if we're using the same components nearly, like, where's this price
Why
increase
is it
coming
more
from?
expensive?
Yeah, other than just an
Huh.
excuse, which I don't know. Seems a
That's
little
interesting.
strange. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Hmm.
But
Boy,
yeah,
there's a lot of construction here. I'm glad
see.
I'm not doing the driving because this would be very confusing.
But yeah, well, I might share my screen then, and we can kind of play around
Okay.
with some of the new stuff we have in the testing environment to see what's to come, because I
Great.
think it's getting quite good.
Is it? Oh, that's great to hear.
So,
You're going to have to talk about it because
yeah,
I can't see it.
yeah, yeah. So, which I know last time, so we've already kind of shown some of this. Really, this part is what's been seen before. Uh, what's different is we now have the graphic that's popping up for the duct pressure when you input what the static pressure is. And we also have a new field that's for max capacity of what the duct work can handle. So I kind of set up a rough estimate here. So let's say, we had a 2,000 square foot house, single story on a crawl space. Um, this is set to my county in which I'm at, so it's pulling the data going to a 2291, which actually that's actually more accurate. May have to double check that. Uh, so this is
Looks like
kind of
it's
a scenario of what's that?
Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Sorry, I was getting a blue screen.
Oh, yeah. So so this is just kind of a demo setup of what we have going on here. Actually, I did. I need to do. I just realized I did this wrong. I need to do 48. I need to do BTUs on this. Um, so what we have here is this would be a scenario of, say, a 4-ton system um, using likely load range to, come up with where our potential sizing is going to be. This would be pretty standard of what I see. And so this would be a scenario of, okay, it's a 4-ton system, but our static pressure is 0.95. Which I didn't do the math on the back end to see if that's actually what the max capacity would be, depending on what that airflow would be. But this is something that everyone's probably seen multiple times of it's a 4-ton unit, but the ductwork's really only big enough to handle 3 tons. And so this can kind of help illustrate. We can see with this MAC duct capacity tick right here of showing that this is what our ductwork can handle if we don't change anything with the ductwork. And so this, I think, is going to be really good to avoid. It's going to really disincentivize someone into sizing into the red at a minimum. So then it's kind of putting us in a, are we going to size into the green or are we going to size into the yellow? Which I like, and I think that's going to work really well because it's going to be
That's
very, I
nice.
think it'll be very intuitive. It's going to be something that if they're following along with the process, as long as you're, explaining things well and educating, asking good questions, this should be very intuitive of understanding. And so I think once this is shown to the homeowner, this is going to be an easy one to kind of for them to look at and go, okay, well, we've got a 4-ton currently. At a maximum, we're going with a 3. So we're at least in the 3-ton range. Are we going to get in the 2.5 to 2? Who knows? But
Right.
it's
Do you
really
want to
setting
change,
their minds up. What's
yeah,
that?
do you want to change your ductwork? Do you want to take
Yeah.
responsibility for being outside of the warranty, the manufacturer limits? Those questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, and really, I think what the difficulty is always when it comes to downsizing, especially at this level with a homeowner, is there's always that fear of like, oh no, what if, I don't want to go down. That makes me nervous because what if it doesn't keep up type
Oh, this
scenario.
is sort of the counteracting fear of, oh, I
Yes.
don't want to go too big or I'm going to be in
Yes.
real big trouble, which
Yes.
is counterbalance. It's a nice
Exactly.
counterbalance. I like
Exactly.
that.
And so I think that's going to be really good to them being able to pick it up in their mindset to be able to see that, okay, like undersizing is still going to be a fear with them, but now it's really instilling that, oh, not just undersizing is a fear, but oversizing is also a fear. So that way there's not just the pull for the sizing is not coming from just one direction of like, don't size too small.
Well, the other thing I hope we're going to do soon is on the heating side, we're going to include, maybe we'll differentiate, but maybe not. But either way, we're going to include the resistance in the total capacity, so that it won't show
Yeah.
3-ton and 36,000 BTU. Oh, right, and that was the other thing is Eric changed the cooling to tons from
Yes.
BTU.
Yes.
I thought that looked pretty nice too. What do you think?
I like that as well. That definitely makes things make a lot more sense for
That
homeowners.
I think that was something you requested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that's and in looking at it, to me it was like, oh yeah, that was an obvious request in hindsight,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this should be tons for cooling, and it should be BTU for heating. So like with a
Yeah.
3-ton, what's the total output of a 3-ton green speed with a 369? It's got to be almost
Let me see.
60,000 or over 60,000.
Let me figure this out real quick. I mean, for a 3-ton, yeah, we're gonna be at design temp 55, 60,000 BTUs, and that is
Okay.
something that I haven't been doing is factoring in the heat kit output along with the heat pump output. I just been doing, if it's a 48, 4-ton, I just do 48, 48. But
48, 48. Yeah.
Reedy, but Reedy explaining what he does and why, I think that made a lot of sense. And so that is
That was
something that I'm
last week,
probably
right?
gonna, yeah,
Okay. So anybody who wants to see that conversation, go look at last week's video.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. And I guess because what I was thinking, if especially like if granted you're gonna have to do unless you want to do a little bit of homework, which I wouldn't recommend. That's just kind of a little bit wasted effort. But like off of this, we're doing our current size of this graph. Uh, if they have a 4-ton unit, I mean, see what size heat kit. Odds are, especially going to a green speed, that's probably going to be higher than what uh, that the green speed will likely be higher than the current system, even with downsizing, because of the how much better capacity the green speed's going to be doing at lower
Oh,
temps, at design
so
temps.
if they're going to
So
put it and find out the design output.
yeah, so then if someone is kind of worried about that, oh no, what if it gets really cold? What's going to happen? And you can be like, well, technically, you're going to actually be getting more capacity out of a new green speed, a ton sized less than what you currently have, because it's actually going to be moving the correct amount of airflow. Plus, this system heats better at lower temperatures.
Mhm.
So you can kind of help put, some minds at ease with that one as well. So I think, and also I think now that this likely load range, this basic calculation has a quick do it for you feature built in here.
Right,
It's just going to
right.
make it
Having it
so
right
much easier.
in there instead of having to go to that spreadsheet.
Yes, yes.
And I think he got the cooling. Um, there was a bug in the cooling calculation. I think he got that corrected.
Yeah, yeah.
Feels like it is.
Uh, let's see. How are we doing? Let me play around with this and see. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. On a crawl
So,
space.
do you want to show it from the beginning through to the end? Just the abbreviated version, so that people can see. Oh, we are going to have the one question at the top because one of the reasons I think asking the
For
one
the
question,
report.
yes,
Okay,
not
let's.
just, yeah, I think
Okay,
because
I
that
didn't
will
know.
make it easier to review it.
Uh,
So you ask the homeowner, so if anything, if you get your new equipment and nothing changes, are you going to be upset? And the answer to that is going to be very important because um, if they say yes, then they should probably be sharing with you why they're going to be upset. And the why they're going to be upset should have associated pain with it. So they should not have all ones and twos as far as how much a thing bothers them if they say yes to the one question.
yeah. Which it looks like the one question wasn't on the report yet.
No, I think that's going to come later. It's so
Okay, okay. Yeah,
I,
because
I just I want to mention it because if people are looking at this video later um, and they see that the one question isn't there, or in the future when they see that it is,
yeah,
that's because it's a future update, and
yeah,
that's going to be important too because when you go in, um, I mean, both from a sales perspective of having the conversation at the kitchen table, but also from the perspective of using the report as your review so that you don't have to go in through all of the questions in the questionnaire. Hopefully the report ends up being what you jump to. When, like if you go back in a year, hey, I'm just trying to get caught up on what we talked about. Um, the things that are in the report are sort of the most important things. And I can't think of a way to bring all of the questions across without it being really cluttered.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I still think probably for bringing some of those questions over is probably going to be more of those are going to be at the very bottom of the report. So it's
Sort of
more
an
of
appendix. Yeah,
yeah,
we may do an appendix,
yeah,
but that's probably very low on the priority list.
yeah. But I think getting the one question over of, what were you hoping the new system will do that the old one doesn't, having the four questions, those are going to be the more critical ones. Um, there may be a few other, but then
It's
those
really
are going to be,
their opportunity to let you know they got problems they're hoping to address. And
yeah,
so if you go like for cutting callbacks, for example, or cutting contractor cost associated with trying to address callbacks, having the homeowner on the hook for what they said is really going to be crucial. Because
yeah,
homeowners tend to not remember a lot of this. I mean, most people don't remember. Either contractor doesn't remember. Nobody remembers. It's, you know,
yeah,
we are a short memory society. So having that stuff documented and front and center on the report is going to be crucial, not only for what follows, but also, in what follows in the report, but also crucial for in the future when you're going back to review after the sale, after the install. If they have complaints they do want addressed in the future, that sort of thing. I mean, it feels to me
yeah,
like there's going to be some people that have issues that they're kind of hoping get resolved with new equipment that may be enclosure issues. And so if you're called back because, oh, the new system's great, but there's still a couple of issues, then this will help you refresh them on, okay, so we did talk about that and talk about how maybe not all of your problems get perfectly solved, um, and that there are future steps to get a better understanding of those problems if you decide you want to address them. And 90% of people, the improvement of going better equipment is going to be so significant that that they're tickled pink rather
yeah,
than complaining.
yeah, yeah,
So this is probably for that 10% that still wants things to get better.
yeah. Which here's something I just thought of. See what you think about this. Uh, when asking the four questions at this level, say, like the first one goes, parts of my house are uncomfortable or sticky. When they give them that 1 to 10 scale, if they give, really anything above a 5, you could probably follow up with a question of saying, okay, is there anything in this regard you was hoping a new system's going to address?
Yeah,
And so if they're like, well, yeah, I expect it to do this better or whatever, you can add it into the additional information
right,
section that's right under it. Type that in because that will populate on the report, and then you can, as the
right,
salesperson, you can tee back to that to go, hey, you remember this thing you were talking about of this being a priority? Well, this is going to fall under to this function category of, okay, you were talking about hot and cold rooms, load matching and mixing is going to be a big one to help alleviate that. You were talking about it being sticky during the summertime of the year or springtime. Okay, dehumidification is going to be a function that's going to attribute to that heavily, so that might be something you want to focus on. So then when they're looking at the smiley faces and they're seeing that, linking it back to the thing that they told you about, it's going to, make the pathway seem a lot better, make it make sense in regards of, okay, why am I going to pick this equipment, or really lay out the groundwork for them to go, okay, this is the system I'm going to choose because it's addressing this thing that I vocalized and said that's a problem.
right, right. So this, I think, is going to dramatically reduce the problem of callbacks.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure that people are very good at keeping track of their warranty costs or warranty reserve or any of those things. So I think it's going to be a while before we're able to put any solid numbers associated with reduction in warranty reserve, and I don't think anybody's really keeping track of customer satisfaction. So I think both of those things will improve, but it's going to be hard to substantiate that with numbers unless there's somebody out there already keeping track of those things.
Yeah.
So that has me a little bit. I'm a little sad about that because I would love to be able to come up with data that helps us understand and actually attribute value to it. But anyway, you were going to go do some work on this. I'll let you go ahead. Sorry.
No
I have
problem.
this tendency.
Yeah, I was just kind of playing around looking at this report as we were kind of talking about the different pieces to kind of point out, some of these things. So that way, a lot of this will make more sense. Now it's kind of got, I mean, really, if the more we can tie things into these tables, the better that is just going to, I think the more cohesive of a process that's going to be, which I have my tables wrong. Oh yeah, it's in QA, so it's not going to do my templates, I don't think. But
Oh, right. Does it do mine?
that's what I don't have my, no.
What's the title?
No, it's got my old templates. It don't have my,
Okay.
because I have updated templates where we were kind of doing, trying to consolidate things into one table for all the different template options, and then under that
Okay.
having here's what you currently have, here's your ideal specification, and here's the best option you could go for.
Right.
It don't have that in there. I don't feel
Okay.
like redoing it all right now, but it still kind of shows what we're going for here.
So that's also on a future update where there will be a most recent HVAC20 version of both tables. These are your choices in helping you pick your ideal specification and narrow in based on budget and all these other things. And then, and this is what we narrowed in. This is sort of after going through the exercise of helping you understand all the different choices you could make. This is sort of what you settled in on. And we're going to try and figure out, we're going to have to work on the narrative for explaining that quickly and simply.
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably going to be, this is a rough idea of your different equipment and installation choices. And this is the specification we helped you develop. So that might be a way of differentiating table 1 from table 2.
Yeah, yeah. I think we'll have to play with it. I think there's going to be I imagine there's probably going to be quite a bit of tweaking that takes place to
Yeah.
figure out what works best.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that we're gonna always have the most current template be one of the options. Oh, I
Yeah.
think we've been here before. Is this a supercharger? Yes, it is.
Why does it have the arrow going?
Because I have north up.
Yeah, well,
We're going into a neon marketplace.
hmm.
Never seen one of these
Interesting.
before, but I think it's because they changed the name. Oh, I'm going one way.
Yeah.
Got to drive here
Well,
for a second.
yeah. Yeah, which in other news, another interesting thing, I'm hoping to be able to get my Haven is now coming out with room monitors, something that'll be akin to like
Oh,
the Foobot and stuff. And
yeah.
so I'm anxious to get. I ordered four for a air quality project that I'm going to be doing. Uh, I guess for to kind of lay out the project I'm going to be working on, and as I progress, I'll keep everybody updated, and you can follow along. But it's an air quality project where it's a family of three kids, three daughters. All three have asthma issues, but I believe it was the youngest. He said it was either the youngest or the oldest. But they are on three different medications for asthma, so it's pretty severe. Uh, and they know that some of the big triggers is that they live out in the country. They have chicken houses that are across the road from their house that they own and operate. And when they sell chickens, they basically they bring in chickens, they raise them up for a few months, sell them, and so it's just this constant, clearing out the chicken house and refilling it. On a cycle of every few months, this is happening. And they said when they sell chickens and they open up the chicken houses, they, load them all up, and it stirs up all that chicken litter and stuff. It's it like there's asthma attacks and big reactions. So it's like that's a known trigger. Another thing that they said they notice is when they cut hay, the same thing, but not to the same degree happens.
Hmm.
And so, so what we're doing with step one is I'm putting in a Haven, the central monitor. I'm going to get these four room monitors and put throughout the house and start data logging. While I'm there, I'm also going to be doing some testing. Going to do a blower door test, zonal, infrared, a lot of things that's in the Comfort Consult. I'm going to be doing essentially all of those, and then I'll probably do a few spot testing just for anything that like that I notice in the process of going throughout and checking these things. If there's an area that seems, something just sticks out to me, I'll have I bought one of those. Retrotech has a new, what is it called? It's an air tracer, I think, but it's like a handheld smoke pen. That's been It's pretty good. So I'll take that with me just for visualization if I notice things, just to, I guess, see what I see essentially. What we already know that he wants to do is he wants to encapsulate his crawl space, but he wants to do it himself. This is something that he wants to DIY. So it'll probably be something where he'll be encapsulating the crawl space, but we was wanting to do the testing beforehand and get that monitor in, so that way we can see once he encapsulates, what's that going to be like, and when that gets finished up, like what kind of difference do we see and such. Oh, we lost Ted, but we got someone else in. What's up?
Yo, you hear me
Lost
all
Ted
right?
for a second, but yep, we can hear him.
Oh yeah, I was
Uh,
following along on YouTube.
yeah, which I guess I'll finish up my what I was saying real quick. Oh, Ted's getting back. Uh, but yeah, so we're just going to be taking some baseline tests just to
Sorry
see what
about
are we
that.
at before. No problem. We'll put together a rough game plan because a lot of this is going to depend on what like if they've got a really leaky house, that's going to push me in a direction of, hey, we may need to look at a comprehensive planning process. Uh, if it's tight and controllable, I'll probably give some prescriptive filtration, fresh air options. Uh, Seeing what size the HVAC is to what size they need, that's going to push me, that'll put me in a realm of, humidity control issues potentially of what that looks like. And so we'll just kind of outline a roadmap for them to see what it looks like for them to have a chance to correct some of these problems. Because them being around, these chicken houses, 100% the objective is going to be what is it going to take to get this house positively pressurized, and how do we bring in enough fresh air, and how do we filter this air to the maximum. One thing that I
Right.
probably will be looking at is the what is it? The dust free John Ellis's filter box thing. I've not had a chance to use one of those or anything, so that's probably going to be a high recommendation there. Uh, I know IQ,
No, the,
was it IQ Air or whatever? I
yeah.
know they have like a similar one that they've made, but they don't seem to want to talk to me for some reason. I've reached out a few times to see about where to buy these things from, and I guess they're like, "Hey, we're doing amazing. We don't need your money." So I took
Is
that as
that the
a
one that's like got the red and white, like health looking logo?
yes, yes, with the
You know,
cross thing, like the red
ironically,
cross thing.
John Ellis gave me their contact info like 4 years ago. I was like, hey, these people make good filters. And now
Yeah,
he has like a competing product. It's probably because they wouldn't talk to people.
maybe so. I don't know. That I just know that was my experience. Is I reached out, I think 3 times through their website, just being like, "Hey, I'm trying to get my hands on these. How do I do this?" And nothing. Didn't hear a peep. So I was like, I mean, hey, I don't have problems with April Air, so I will continue to use those.
I
But
think one of the things about that we're seeing more and more is pressurizing houses even a little bit is a great way to solve these indoor air quality problems.
yep,
And we might need to start pushing that narrative out through different people. People still seem to think that heat recovery ventilators are the answer, and they don't realize that that neutral pressure means that bad air coming in through places other than the ERV, through the envelope leakage, is
yeah,
still going to come in through that.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
that's a hard one. Like, why are you spending all this money on ERVs? They're only really recovering any significant kind of BTUs in under pretty much worst case conditions, right? We talked about this a little bit, didn't we, Timmy?
Yeah, you and I chatted a little bit on the phone about it.
You want to sort of, is there anything I missed, or is there anything you would add?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty accurate. I think it's like kind of most of the country complaints about heat pumps being cheaper than, or gas being cheaper than heat pumps. It's like 5%.
Those are sort of rare
$5
too,
a
aren't
month,
they?
something like.
Yeah,
Right.
like your savings is
If they're there,
everybody's chasing. There's no juice to squeeze. The things are chasing.
right. You're sacrificing comfort to save $5,
yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, I mean, in regards to ERVs, I mean, of the few that I've ran across, and I'm sure I don't know if y'all have noticed this as well, but there's actually the worst one I seen was in a commercial building, and when you're bringing in fresh air and you're exhausting air from inside the space, air inside the space is likely to be less dirty in terms of particulate. And so if there's no maintenance that happens and you either clog up the filters of the fresh air coming in, or you clog up your actual core itself, well then sure, when you install that ERV going for that balanced pressurization between inside and outside, that might be how it was upon commissioning. But I know of this commercial building in particular, since there was no maintenance that was done properly, the air intake was getting clogged up. It was massively depressurized to the point that you could go to some of the exterior doors and you were struggling to open up the door because of how strong the depressurization was happening, all because that core was stopped up. And that's something that they don't think about. They don't
Right.
think about what is the likelihood of the maintenance being done for, this ERV, because how, in this scenario for this one, if we end up doing anything, my ideal method is probably going to be, large MERV 16 filters for the HVAC system itself, and then bring in fresh air and dump before that filter, and then run that through like a MERV 11, like a large April air. And so in this particular setup,
Mhm.
you still have the risk of, okay, you've got to maintain maintenance for this fresh, you've got an additional filter that you need to maintain. The other ones should last a long time, but still, worst case scenario is that filter just gets so clogged up, it's not bringing in fresh air. And so
Right.
if we keep the monitor installed, and set up some triggers, I'm not sure if Haven can actually trigger alarms or something. I know within the app they can check, but it can be something to where in a worst case scenario, it just goes back to how it is currently. It doesn't depressurize heavily because
Right.
we're not trying to bring in and exhaust at the same time. How the ERVs are, it's like in a worst case scenario, it's still not as bad as a common bad case for ERVs of that intake getting clogged up, not bringing in the same amount of air that is exhausting.
Right.
Hmm.
And
Right.
I mean, you could also, I mean, this is, you said in reference to like chicken houses, right?
Yeah.
Is your concern? You could put the charcoal lined April air one to potential the smell.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those are MERV 13s though, so I don't know how restrictive it gets. Are you planning on leaving the Haven room monitors behind, or are you like they're going to become the client, or are you just
I I plan on,
and then
well,
for a
so
Haven end up?
yeah. Uh, so for the room monitors, I'll probably be taking those back with me unless they express like if they want to keep it or something,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll sell it to them. What we initially agreed on is I told them, I said, hey, I gave them options of like we can permanently install a monitor for you with a
Right.
controller, and then we can do stuff if needed. And they were like, I mean, it sounds interesting, but we're not sure if what we're going to do. And so I said, okay, well, instead of however much I forgot what price I gave them. I said instead of that for 600, we'll do the monitoring for say 8 months maximum temporarily as we kind of do some of these improvements to see what happens. If you decide at the end that either we don't do anything that needs controls, that you want to automate anything such as fresh air, that sort of thing, if you don't do that, then we'll remove it. You're good to go. But if say something happens, something changes, and you're like, actually, I would rather keep an eye on this, or maybe we do some type of powered fresh air intake. Maybe there's a bunch of things we could potentially do that would be
Yeah.
useful with the controller. I said, if that's the case, we'll figure out, I'll just sell you this monitor and we'll turn it into a permanent install instead of a temporary test. Uh, Odds are, I think I'll probably still be
Right.
keeping the room monitors because
That's
they're
a
going to have the central monitor that's going to be in the return duct. And so that should give us
yeah.
a good enough reading, baseline for the house, as long as we're maintaining a slightly positive pressure type thing. But we'll just see, go from there.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that's this offering the room honor is good stuff like that. Let's do something and not have the client fully commit, and then once they see the value of it,
Yeah.
and then they want to fully go in, buy it outright, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a very nice addition for Haven because that makes
Oh
them a
yeah.
whole lot more useful. People don't have to
Yes.
dive in with the control system unless they need it, and it helps them understand whether they need it or not. In this case, I have a feeling the people are going to need it
Yeah.
because so they may. I mean, if they go with an infinity system, having the monitors will tell them whether they can run low fan all the time or maybe they need to run medium fan all the time. Or maybe they
Yeah.
need to run medium fan, when all that chicken shit's getting stirred up into the air.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time they can run it on low, stuff like that. It'll give them direct feedback in the way that they're operating their system.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
Um,
which I
but a
think
lot of
most
people aren't going to have like a chicken farm right next to them and kids with asthma.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess there's probably several people around me that will have that, because chicken houses are a common thing when you're in
Oh,
more
yeah,
rural
right.
areas. It is super
Yeah.
common. Now,
They're
the
they're actually
question
common
of,
here too, because we live in
oh yeah,
farming territory where
yeah,
I'm at. So
yeah. The only tricky part though is, I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, typically the people who, if that's going to live in a house that's right across the street from a chicken house,
yeah,
air quality is just not a concern of theirs. They could be dying of something air quality related, and they just don't seem to care.
they're like,
This was kind of an
Might be in
anomaly where,
denial.
yeah, well, it's just one of those things where it's kind of seen like, oh, I've never worried about this before.
Oh,
I've
I'm
grown
tough.
up on a farm forever. Yeah, like that sort of thing. And they just like they
Yeah.
don't care enough. This one, they cared, and initially they just didn't know that it was going to be an option. And they've actually tried a few things. What was it? They bought a vacuum cleaner specifically uh, to try to help with some of this, and they said that they'll take the vacuum cleaner and they just sit it in the middle of their living room. We'll just turn it on and run it just so it can like clean the air. And I don't know what kind it is. I can't remember what they called it. I
hopefully
wrote
it's
it
HEPA
down.
rated.
Yeah, they said it had a water tank, and they said that
Oh,
you could run it. They said you would run it forever, and it's like you can like visibly see it getting very dirty, which I gave them like, oh well, it's doing something. So
I
they
think
would
those
just
are
run.
bullshit.
Are they?
My,
They told me what it was. And I'm like, I've never heard this before in my life. I'm like, does it have HEPA?
there's some kind of like multi-level marketing scheme
Oh,
where you like take a like you can get one for free if you like advertise it on your social media, and then what that leads to then is like, or like you do the air purifier for free, and it's like a water. It just I don't know how it works, but it just seems like this. It seems like this literal like pyramid scheme where you advertise this air purifier for free on your
mm.
social media, and then you get it, but then somebody else comes along and tries to sell you other products that involve that technology. But
Oh,
so
so,
super sick.
yeah. Sounds sus. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. I just know when they were telling me that, it was what stuck to me is like, okay, they were taking action trying to remedy this. So it's like, okay, there's something here to some degrey.
right,
Anyways,
100%. They're at least they're trying.
yeah. Let me.
Maybe
I'm
maybe
pulling up
they
my
need a
notes. I want
HEPA
to see what
rated
this is called.
vacuum or something though instead.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I tell people a lot for, if especially if they're dealing with dust problems or anything that's like more particulate in the air related, of saying, hey, get a robot vacuum with a HEPA filter and set that joker on a schedule and just let it run once a day. Like
Yeah,
that picks up so much dust. It's actually pretty crazy of how good of an
yeah,
air quality product that can be. And it's something that anybody can buy and get. Now, if you have dogs inside, and dogs crap in the floor,
yeah.
probably don't want brown streaks all over your house. So that's
Someone at the shopping center.
That's
not
already a
ideal, but
problem.
yeah. Let me. I was trying to pull up my notes to see what that.
Now,
What do you?
Tanner, I saw you post on Facebook, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
like a little AI video of an install, or it would sound like an AI
Yeah.
overdub
Yeah, as a voiceover.
of like was that just a fresh air filter, or was that powered?
Yeah, it was a powered ventilator. It's
Okay,
controlled with Haven. So when
yeah,
particulate matter or no VOCs get above a certain point, well, when the system runs, it'll pull a small amount of air through it all
mm-hmm.
the time, so it's getting a constant. And
Like
then
a
if it,
natural draft from the
yes, like a
yeah.
natural draft of it, and then if it notices high VOCs, it can then kick that fan on and then dump about 70 CFM into it, and it'll also kick the air handler's speed up to high.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
And that's all through Haven.
Yep.
And it's just a basic system, or is it
It was a green
like a single
speed.
stage, two stage, or like a green speed, or
Yeah, green speed.
oh, nice.
Well,
Okay,
the
cool.
Bryant version, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. What we're fanboys of.
Oh yeah. And
Nice.
I
Well, I
just
thought that
pulled
was
up
a
my
cool little
notes.
video.
Oh well, thanks. Yeah, well, it's been one of those things that I've been needing to post more content. I just haven't
Hmm.
done it. And taking a quick video like while I'm doing stuff and not having to think what I'm going to say, just record the video and then do it later is so much easier. So
Yeah.
I'm going to like test that out to see how good that'll be, because then I can just like think through what it is I want it to say and then have the, voice to text. I mean, it's common,
Yeah.
it's popular or whatever, does what it is that I need to do, and I can pump out more content faster doing it that way than me having to like, stumble and babble over the crap I want to say and not going on tangents.
Right. Right. Right.
But yeah, that vacuum is called a rainbow vacuum, is
Yep.
what
That
they,
sounds.
yeah.
I think that's it.
Is that it? Yeah,
Let me look on.
I was wondering what was, because I'm looking through my notes now. One of the things, let's see. So they have, okay, yeah. So they got this rainbow vacuum. They said when they started using it, they said they noticed maybe about a 20% improvement in dust reduction. Now, is that placebo? Is it that when they bought this, they're doing other things along with it to try to help? I don't know. That's just what feedback I got. And then another thing they said they did buy the better filter for their system, and they noticed no difference for that. But those were some of the two things that they've done so far. But I was just like,
Hope they're not too anchored.
I don't think so. I mean, they're when their kids are still having asthma attacks and they're still on medication and that sort of thing. Uh, I don't think they're going to be too cemented into any idea
Right.
with something like that. Not until there's some actual improvements and movements being made. um, but yeah, in which another thing I was wanting to see, Tim, have you looked at or used any of the smart AC stuff, those monitors? Oh, is he froze?
I think he froze up. I think he's been having some problems going in and out. Yeah, he's frozen.
Yeah, I, I think so. Oh, well,
That's too
yeah,
bad.
he fell out. Yeah, he might be back in here in just a minute.
He did say that he was having success with his reheat.
From the set point change.
Yeah, for making those changes. He got one of,
Yeah,
I think he only needs to have one of them working.
yeah, that's good. That's one thing I kind of wish that the carrier control would change is instead of doing a humidity set point, doing a dew point set point. Oh, he's back.
Sorry, Wi-Fi's being problematic. I don't know if
Yeah,
I've been dropping in and out as much.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
yeah. Which you sound good now, but I don't know if did you catch my question?
I caught the little bit of the end. You're talking about dew point calculator on. Is that what you were talking about? They have in Haven now, or
No, I was asking you if you've either used or messed with the smart AC monitors or considered
oh,
them or anything.
I haven't. Somebody told me they wanted you to buy a large amount up front.
Yes, I
thought
don't
you
know
get
what they're at now. Well, so when I first did a demo with them and was seeing what it is, is going to be needed. And initially they were like, okay, you just have to buy 18 units, like in one go.
okay.
And so I was like, that's a bit much, but sure, like that's not too bad.
Right.
Well, I didn't do anything right then. And then the next time I talked to them, they were like, oh, well, actually, instead of 18, we're now like, you have to get 36 at a minimum. And I was like, hold up. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Like,
Right.
You got to do something. Well, I talked back and forth to them. They bumped it down to 18 again, and so I got 18, and I've been trying them and just to see, uh, because of what they were promising and what they're going for. Uh, I mean, it is nice. I do like it, and I know Glottal is using them. That's like one of their
Yep.
biggest customers and stuff.
Right.
Um, and I guess the reason I was asking you is because I've been using them and I've been like kind of testing to see some different things. There's been some weird things with it that I've run into that I just kind of go like, why is this a problem? Like this is kind of silly. Uh, and one of the things lately that I've noticed is one of the things that they advertise is they talk about this filter monitor being able to measure when the filter needs to be changed. And
Mm-hmm.
when I asked them about it, it was oh well, it's measuring the pressure drop. When the system shuts off, it kind of takes like a baseline, like here's what our zero is, and then it will. When you change the filter to new, and if it knows that it's new, it'll see when the unit kicks on what's that pressure difference there to see the pressure drop, and then as that pressure drop increases, it will, that's what it'll use to determine when to change. Um, from my testing and then going back and forth with them, come to find out that's not entirely the case. It seems like it's actually more they're just going, oh, we're looking at runtime hours and cycles. And they said we do look at the pressure, but I highly doubt that because,
Right.
and as an example for mine, I have the April Air, the 516, the large 28 by 32 MERV 16 filter,
Yep. Nice.
and uh, it's been, I don't know, 6 months since I changed my filter, and it told me like 3 months ago that I needed to change my filter, and I was like, I don't know about that. So I got my DG8, and I ordered a new filter, or I had one on my shelf. Went and grabbed a new filter, and I went and measured the filter drop or pressure drop across the filter, put in the new one, and measured the pressure drop again. And I know the rule of thumb from I can't remember where it was that I read it, but it was who was it? I can't remember. Anyways, the rule of thumb pressure drop has been that once it doubles what the pressure drop current is as a new filter, that's when it's time to change it. I've always
Okay.
just kind of went by that. So I was wanting to see, okay, what are we measuring? Uh, the old filter was a 0.117. The new filter was a 0.103.
Okay.
And I was measuring that with a DG8. And so I was like, something tells me that this hardware of, for $10 a month is not going to be picking up the same resolution and accuracy as this DG8. I just
Right.
don't see it. And two, if it was actually measuring that and it was determining the filter life based on pressure, that's nowhere near. Like we're talking 0.014,
Yeah.
additional pressure drop. Like we should be able to go, a minimum another 6 months at least. And so I reached out to them and was like, hey, tell me exactly how y'all are coming to this. And they're like, because they first give you this like beat around
Dog
the
and pony
bush
show.
answer. Yeah. And I'm like, no. We're not doing like, I'm measuring. Here's what I measured. Here's what I found. Why is this sensor telling me different? And so I still wasn't happy with the answer. Then they told me, oh, well, we're looking at run hour times, which to me, I'm like my system's a green speed. So, and I have the fan to stay on low all the time.
Yep. Yep.
If anything, it'll bump up to medium during the day, and it runs continuously. So it's like,
Yep.
if that's the case, like that's going to make the filter life drop dramatically if you're just going off of run hours, and
Right.
that's just not a good way of doing it. And I'm like, if
Right.
it says it on your website that you're determining this based off pressure drop and pressure, I mean, that should be the best case of doing that. Like if the sensor is decently accurate, I don't see why it should have any issues with it. Granted, it could be a little tricky for, yes, my rule of thumb is once the pressure drop doubles, but you also don't want the pressure drop to increase and cause the overall static pressure to jump up dramatically because that'll cause
Right.
problems. But I feel like if you're staying under a certain threshold, you shouldn't really be it, it shouldn't be telling me to change my filter every month or 2 months if you're actually measuring that. Like that seems a very doable thing software wise.
Right. It feels like they're using the manual J heating load
Yeah.
of calculations to determine when filters should be changed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, heating doesn't matter, and as long as you're changing your filter more, that's better, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
guessing, throwing
Yeah. And
darts
that
at the
was that
dartboard.
they did kind of touch on that. They said, "Oh, well, we're doing it this way, which is even more aggressive than like the standard blah blah blah." And it's like, well, the standard is looking at protecting equipment first of all, and also the standard is what is the most conservative way of doing it. Like where they're looking at in a worst case scenario, the dirt, like a dirty house, like all the things. What is like to be able to make sure that if anything, we're just changing it too much, and that kind of defeats the purpose. Especially like for us, if we're upgrading filtration systems with April Air or even this dust free system and stuff, and we're because that's one of the things that I tell people when I talk about it, because they're always like, oh well, how much does the filter cost? And you tell them, they're like, whoa, well that's a lot more than what I'm paying. And it's like, well,
Right.
but you're going to change this one for every 12 times that you change that one. And so,
Yeah.
which is true. Like, I mean, I see my parents' house, theirs gets so disgusting. Mostly because like I guess they think they shouldn't have to change the filter. I should do it, and I do it maybe every year and a half, 2 years when
Yeah.
I remember. And theirs is like will be just canked, disgusting. And pressure drop wise, it still comes in fine. Like those April Air
What do
filters
they
can
have?
load up like crazy. It's the 25 by 16 April Air. It's a
Okay.
MERV 13,
Yeah. Yep.
and I mean it. If I had some pictures of it, I do think I have. Let me.
Yeah. I mean, I just changed my. I have the 20 by 20, which is the April Air on my system,
Yeah.
which it's a little frustrating because they don't sell that rack with a MERV 16. Uh,
Yeah.
so I can only get it the way we didn't have ductwork here, so I had to design it where the filter sits directly under the air handler, and that
Mm-hmm.
was the closest one that fit the footprint of the air handler.
Yeah.
And if I would have known that, I would have just did it. Like now, I have like a point, even with it directly there, I have like a point oh three, something like it's a minuscule pressure drop. Like it's almost like it's not even there. So like if like I could go MERV 16 and it wouldn't be a big deal at all. But I just
There
changed
it
mine for the first time in like a year, and it was rough. I should have changed it sooner.
is. I pulled this up. This is the old filter next to the
Oh
new
yeah,
one, and just to get
nice.
a more close up, like that's what their filter looks like every time that I change it. Granted, it goes for a very long time, but
Yeah, I
even
mean
this
2 years
dirty,
still.
it is not the pressure drop doesn't it's not double. I can't remember the numbers on this one, but it
Hmm.
wasn't double of what the initial pressure drop was. And so because of that, I've kind of been like, hey, especially if you got a clean house, you can make these filters last 2 years,
Right.
3 years, like legit easy. Uh,
Yeah, I think I saw Neil Comparetto put a 31 by 28 slanted on somebody's system, and
hmm
then even then put it was like a 2-ton system, so probably a little smaller than yours, so no pressure drop at all on it. But he ended up installing a pre-filter on it, like which is more drop, but it's still probably almost nothing. But he'll make that filter then even last longer, you know?
yeah, and this was which actually I can't remember if I've told this story on here or not about another dust issue that I helped with. It was an older lady. She lived in a trailer. It was a double
Mm-hmm.
wide. It was a newer trailer and it was nice, but she smokes inside the house and she has three large dogs. Their dust was insane. I wish I had pictures of what I might if I look at my company
I
cam,
think
but
I remember you commenting on it.
did I? Okay,
This
yeah,
is because you were
and so
saying there's not gonna solve the issue unless you get rid of the dogs.
yes, yes, but in which what was happening is she had a dust problem, contacted a few companies, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll clean your ductwork."
Mm,
And it's like, okay, you clean the ductwork, then what? Where did the dust come from? And
hmm
that unit they was using that fiberglass filter. It's stopping all the small rocks and big children or large rocks and big children type thing. And so like even these things, I'll use them in these trailers. I mean, use them everywhere, just because
Yeah.
it works. It works super well. And uh, where I really become a big believer was there was a unit that I installed is actually the first 5 stage I installed several years ago, like 5 years ago, I think. I had to change the indoor coil a year ago, I think, because of there's a leak that popped up. It was the only warranty call I've had to do on any of the Evolution, Green Speed, whatever you want to call them,
Mm,
units. But
good
we
for
put a
you.
April, yeah, we put an April area on that one. The old coil, when I pulled it out, looked exactly the same as the brand new coil after 4 years of use.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's kind of funny. It's like a lot of problems get solved when you just do really good filtration and don't have filter bypass. And ever
Right.
since then, I
100%.
was
Yeah.
like,
No.
this thing is amazing.
Yeah. No. I agree. I mean, the last systems have like even the bottom of the filter rack has like we ran them when we did construction. So like the bottom of the rack is like coated in like a thick string of dust, you know. But you pull
Hmm.
that filter out and look up in the coil and it's pristine, So it's doing its job. Yeah, and there's no bypass on them really. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
they're legit.
Let's see. A few other pictures just of this same one, which this was after it was done, but this was what the coil would
Yeah,
look like beforehand. And this, how old was this unit? I think this was 4 years old as well. Oh,
it's also annoying that Carrier has those odd size filter slots. They're like
yeah.
21 and a half by whatever, and
Hmm.
so that doesn't help the scenario. It doesn't help the situation when people can't just buy off the shelf, stock filters if nobody put a filter rack in.
Yeah. Yeah. Which that is one thing that I do like with Smart AC is they have a thing once you set the profile up and get it all installed, the homeowner can order filters wholesale from their app,
Okay.
and
Yep.
it's pretty cheap prices. I mean, about as cheap as you can get. And once the size is already in, they just hit buy. It automatically orders their size exactly what they need, so then they can't get the wrong size filter and screw things up. Uh, so that was
Oh,
one thing I
nice.
did like about it.
Did you ever use Filter Fetch, that program, or heard of it?
I've heard of it. I never used it. I looked into it a little bit, but that was about as far as I got it. Have you used it?
I signed up for it, and I never like had. There was a few people where like you could put on like it included like some stickers and maybe like you put it on the filter rack. I think you wrote your code on it, and then they would go online and type your code in, and it would give them either either your list of filters or their specific one. Either or, it was like it wasn't. If you wanted to make $0, the pricing for the filters was competitive. Which I don't get me wrong. I get markup. I get
Yeah.
everybody's gonna kind of make money. Um, But for me to make money, and like it put the filters with shipping and everything, put them pretty high. So it still ended up being like cheaper for me just to go. I could still go to my supplier and sell them to them and mark those up and make as much kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really wanted to try to make any money off filters just because, like you said,
Yeah.
when you're competing with big box stores, it's like
Hmm.
in order to make $3 on a filter, like it's just not, it wasn't worth the hassle. So that's why that was one of the, I guess
Right.
that's why I kind of like smart ACs, because I could be like, hey, I can give you means to order the filter cheaply, and I have no part in it. Like,
Right.
I'm not making money. I don't have to insure fulfillment, all that other stuff. If it, obviously I don't want it to be a headache, because then they're not
Right.
going to like it. But it's just more of like, hey,
Yeah.
here's a
I
way
don't
for
care
you
if
to
you
get
order
it.
them here or not.
Yeah. So then what I do now is, if someone's like, hey, can you get me a filter? Well, I'll kind of be like, well, if you're a member, you can order the filters on this app. Like, I don't get any money from it. I can get you a filter, but just so you know, it's probably going to be at least double, if not triple, what it would be on this app.
That's what I tell
Because
people with my maintenance. Like, I can get you a filter, but it's going to be double or triple. Go buy it on
yeah,
Amazon or order it, and I'll put it in for you.
hmm
But
yeah,
I got to mark it
that's
up if I'm getting it.
yeah, and I just don't want to mess with it. I don't want to have
Yeah.
to stock filters. Granted, if it's like a commercial maintenance, different story.
Right.
But I'm talking
Yep.
just residential. I don't want to stock all the different 1 inch sizes. And I mean, I do keep April Air stuff because I use them
Yeah.
a lot, but there's also only a handful of sizes. And so for those, sure. Also, the price of those are high enough that, like, you know, marking those up 20%, 30%
Yep.
is in different story versus marking up a 1 inch filter 20%. It's like it's more, it's a loss of space for me to stock it and keep up with it than it's worth for that 30% markup price.
Right. Yeah, I think that's with April Air and stocking them. Like you can stock a few, especially if you start converting your clients to them.
Yeah.
I think that's a different story, especially they fold flat in boxes,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not having to get, yeah, like, yeah, I don't even, I have my van overpacked as it is. So, like, trying to add filters in
Yeah.
there. And,
Oh yeah.
and I'm so bad about if I put something in there and it's not in a good spot, I'm just going to crush it and ram it and destroy it. So, like, I just know
Yeah.
how I am. The filters would not stand a chance.
Oh yeah. Yep. Well, we're an hour and 13 in. I guess we can wrap it up.
Sorry about that, guys. I ran out of battery on my phone
You're all good.
just as
You
we got to the hotel.
joined
So
just in time to wrap it up.
just in time to wrap it up. This is actually kind of nice. They got a little kitchenette in this place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Looks like it's not a per hour
No, it's not
hotel.
Little extended stay.
extended stay. Yeah. But nice job with the meeting tonight, Tanner. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for holding the ship down.
Okay. And the stream.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Thanks for coming.
Bye, everybody.